Hi there, welcome back. It's Laura at Hyperstamper. Today I have a journal. It's funny, I was about to get started on a nurse's junk journal and I got a message through Etsy, also my email's below if you want to contact me, about would I be doing a nurse's journal soon. And I couldn't believe it. I was all ready to do one. So this one is reserved for Erin, but I wanted to show it off before I send it off to her. So let's take a little look through this beautiful nurses themed journal. So I've combined a whole bunch of nurse and medical ephemera in here, along with lots and lots of other kinds of antique and vintage ephemera. So it's a real treasure trove. The book I used is from 1961. 64 years old, and I kept the original inside plate there, and I used, this is the first page of the book here, and then in here I have this awesome 1920s catalog page, and it's got all kinds of medical equipment and apparatuses here, and then medicines on the other side. I love it. God, look at how great this is. Almost 100 years old that is. Love it. And this is another plate from this book, Nurses Who Led the Way. Now this is really cool. This came from a 1950s first aid book. Isn't that neat? She will appreciate that. And then just a really beautiful little image here from a vintage children's book. And this is from a nurse's, or a first aid book, somebody who took notes. And I just think it's really cool because that is, 70 years old, those notes. And then that is a handwritten thesis page, and then a great little children's book page pocket here. And then this came from a 1933 Girls' Own annual book, and it says the employment of women in public health work. So a really neat piece of history for our healthcare professionals, especially the women in the industry. And then we have an early 1900s book page here. And then here is from the Journey to Healthland, Children's Health. Isn't that beautiful? And then a really sweet little poem about health on the other side. And this came from another book that I have, The First Patient. And then up here I've got a vintage scorecard that she can journal in. And then this is a library, vintage library pocket. That's authentic, and so is the card in here. But you'll notice here that the book is called Hospital Zone. Isn't it neat? I love that. It's perfect. So that goes in there. She can have some fun with that. And this is a plate from 1920. And another early 1900s children's book page there. Absolutely sweet. Now this is cool. This is from the 1800s. And it is an advertisement that was in the back of a book. And it's all kinds of, well, it's really snake oil, to be honest with you. But I find that really fascinating because it's, lung healers and children's powders. And then if you turn upside down, it's other cool things. And why suffer from a cough? So yeah, very, very cool from the chemists. That is actually from England. And this is one of my favorite things that I found and have been holding on to. This is about 75 years old, and it is exactly what it looks like. I was going to put it in my Halloween journal because it's a skeleton, but it's really more health related than scary. And I think she will love this. Just be careful with the folding. It's very old, a little brittle, so it actually would look good in a frame. And just a beautiful little piece here and some antique here. And this I love. I've been holding on to this one. I was actually going to give it away, but to a friend, just because it does this. You don't see a lot of pop-ups from the 1940s, but this is one. And she also put in this great letter down here to a sick friend. So staying in bed's no circus, and hope it won't be long before you're merrily going around once more. I just think that's adorable. So I think she'll get a kick out of that. Really sweet little 1940s page here, little girl putting on her boots. This here, I had to write myself another note, is from 1915. And it is all kinds of home nursing notes from an early 1900s book. And I think it's invalids, they used to call them, instead of patients. And yeah, so I think that'll be much enjoyed reading through healthcare from 120 years ago. This is another one of these great first aid pages. And then the pocket here is from the early 1900s. It says little acts of kindness, which all of our nurses do constantly. It's from the 1950s here. And this is a beautiful 1955 postage stamp collector's page. And it's commemorative stamps for the Red Cross. And look at that. And this is one of the most famous nurses of all time, Clara Barton, who founded the Red Cross. Isn't that fantastic? So I thought she would like that as well. Just another sweet little page down here, a little girl studying. Let's pretend she's studying for nursing. And this is just a great 1934 Paris, France almanac page. But look at this awesome bus. Is it a transit? I don't know if it's on a track or a trolley, but it's really cool. Antique doily there. And then this is an advertisement from a 1950s magazine for teens. Earn big steady pay as a practical nurse. Just another wonderful children's book page here. And then this is a vintage book on architecture. And here we have hospitals. Isn't that neat? Medical colleges. Yeah, pretty cool and beautiful. Now this is meal planning and nutrition, because nurses work with their patients about good nutrition. And then this is just a wonderful children's book page. That is lovely. And then this is a great little piece that I found from a vintage book. And this here, it's just beautiful. This was sent to me by my friend Paige, this antique postcard. It's very old, it's very rare, and it's lovely. This little girl looking at her reflection in the mirror. And because she was wearing white, I thought she kind of looked a bit like a nurse. And then here we have more of these wonderful medicine. Oh, here's Pepsi to say hello. Hi, Pepsi. Medicine pieces, just for fun in there. And then here is another one from 1933 from a different Girls' Own annual, A Jubilee of Medical Women. Isn't that fantastic? So again, really fun reading there and very, very historic. And another sleeping patient here. And then this looks like a advertisement for a motel or a hotel, but it is actually for a pharmacy. And this was sent in the 60s or 50s, I'm sorry, 1952. And anyways, it's pretty cool that it's the drugstore in Illinois. I just love that. That's fantastic. Little crochet bits here. A 1950s receipt, a pocket here from an antique book that says her story, so she can write her nursing memories in here. This image is of nurses hiding things from the German soldiers. So that's a really cool story in that original book that I actually read. And this is a vintage ledger sheet. Another from a vintage book, and that would be a nurse's outfit or uniform there. And just a really fun antique book cover, hardcover, and I added some antique paper to it to make a journaling tag. And this is from about a 70-year-old Monopoly game. We've got the nurse there and the father with the screaming babies. Pay the hospital $100 right now. And then this is just a really great antique postcard. Look at the horse and buggies there. It's fabulous, and that's from 1920. Architecture book here from the 1850s. That's a school in Massachusetts. And then here we have another wonderful article, making the articles that the Queen needs for the wounded. So during the wars, the Queen would order or ask people to make these because this is what they needed to send overseas to the soldiers and the wounded to care for them. And it was quite a big initiative that the Crown took on, which is very, very cool. Another children's book page here. I put this inside this little antique paper frame, a little nurse there taking care of a child. Another hardcover book there, turned into a journaling tag. And we've got more. This is from 1913. 1913, The Hospital in the Home. Look at that beautiful graphic. It's so beautiful. Antique paper flower here. And there's another wonderful image of lungs and of the human head respiratory system. So there you go, 1950, 70 years old that is. And then this little cute antique book page here says doctor's orders. And speaking of doctor's orders, there's a doctor there. Isn't that great? There's all kinds of fun there. Oh, she's gonna have so much fun with this. Okay, and then we have another great first aid page here and another journey to Healthland that there's space here for her to journal on. Now, on the flip side there, I've got this great 1920s children's book page, full color, and there's our nurse looking after the little children, school children. That's a school nurse. And then we've got this 1920s Butterick dressmaker page, which I love. Another first aid page here. And there is, you can see this from an antique French dictionary. That is a scalpel. So for nurses in the operating room. Beautiful children's book page here. That is an authentic postcard. I didn't like the image on the front, but I loved the back. And then this is just a fabulous first page of an antique book because I am in love with this pattern. I wish I could have it in wallpaper on my house. Early 1900s botanical book page and a vintage Birds of America book page. Look how pretty these are, the little flycatchers. And then this is another, this one is 1933 as well. We've got these fun little images here of the nurses and the screaming patients, and it's just all awesome. This has completely depleted my nurses my nurses folder, so I might have enough in a few months if somebody wants to reserve one. And there's another wonderful children's book page here, and another 1913 page here, The Hospital in the Home. There we go. And another wonderful early 1900s page down here, school nurse taking an eye test with a child. And look at cute little twins there. And that brings us to the end. So I hope she loves it as much as I loved making it. If you would like one or a custom journal of any theme, just let me know. Email me below, subscribe, comment, and come back soon. Bye for now.